Back to football.
So frustrated.
This question's from Matt. How does a QB battle affect the rest of the team going into fall camp? Meaning, are there factions? Do the receivers and linemen work differently for each? Does the emotional player preference side enter into the coach's decision? This is a great question. And producer River put a picture of George McIntyre and Faison Brandon up. So Tennessee's got one of these. Alabama's got one of these. Florida's got one of these. Like a good, good old fashioned QB competitions. Ari, I want to ask you, because you covered one of the weirdest ones ever, where JT Barrett, who actually wasn't supposed to start in 2015 for Ohio State, took over because Braxton Miller got hurt in camp, but JT Barrett leads them most of the way. He gets hurt against Michigan. Cardell Jones leads them the rest of the way. And then you have a QB battle going into in 2014. Going into the 2015 season, you have a QB battle between Cardell Jones and JT Barrett. What was that like?
Well, I will tell you this. The day we were in the building when Braxton Miller hurt his shoulder and it became apparent he wasn't going to be able to play that year, it felt like a funeral in the building. So I know for a fact that, people were, we know how the story played out, but you have to put yourself in that building on that day. And Braxton Miller just led the team to a 12-0 season the year before. And was one of the most sensational.
Well, no, they had lost in the Big Ten championship game to Michigan State the year before.
Was that the year before?
Yeah.
This would be his third year going into it.
Yeah,
right. But point remains, this was going into a very important season where Urban Meyer had to go in, and Braxton Miller was supposed to be a really important piece to that, Andy. And it was like, I just remember how sad everybody was. It was like quiet. Like usually, when you go to a football team's practice and it's over, you hear music and people are running and laughing, getting off the field and running back to the locker room. That wasn't the case. And then JT obviously did what he did that year and was much better than anybody could have thought. The second year was the one that it really tanked him because they had two really good options. And it was like, who do you go with? The person that led you to the playoff the previous year, or the person who actually won the games in the championship rounds, like in the playoff, because Cardale played in the Big Ten championship in both playoff games, including the national title, and helped them win. And it's like, I don't even know like who deserves more loyalty there, the person that got you there or the person that won it when it mattered the most. I still think that Ohio State would have won the title with JT if he was healthy. So like that.
Did you get a sense, going to that 2015 season, if there was a preference among the team? Because obviously, usually when you interview players, they are pretty cagey about it in the moment. But now,
the thing that was difficult about that and what was unique about it is that there wasn't any clear identifiable team JT, because both did it. Like, sometimes you have the veteran that everybody loves and the young guy who's yet to play. They have different styles. It's like both people like literally performed at the highest possible level in big time moments the previous year. So like you don't have a lot of quarterback battles in general in college football where both people are accomplished on a national championship team. So, and I think that completely torpedoed the entire team because the one person that also didn't know the answer to that question was the head coach, and it turned into musical quarterbacks, and they made a red zone package.
He was not. He was telling the truth when he said he made the decision basically on the sideline at the season opener.
Yeah, you were at that game, weren't you?
I was at the game.
Didn't he? He told Cardale he was starting the day like in the tunnel.
Yeah.
Yes. But I also think there's no possible way he was lying because the actions throughout that season, Andy, didn't indicate that he had any idea of who he wanted to go with.
Right, because he made JT kind of the red zone
quarterback where every time they got inside the 20, they put JT into the game, and that was weird. And, I think that they were very different players too, which makes it difficult because JT was like a ground and pound run up the middle and pretty solid arm, and Cardale Jones was more of a big arm. And I just feel like people, and maybe the whole reason they didn't make the playoff that following year wasn't just because they couldn't figure out who their quarterback was. They had a lot of players who, made it to the national title game the year before, a year too early, won it, and already were thinking about the NFL at that point. But I think that it impacts teams a lot, especially when there are two very different types of players involved. And you have loyalty amongst people in the locker room towards one or the other. And I think that the Ohio State one that I covered was maybe one of the most unique situations like in the history of college football quarterback battles. Just because like you don't usually get both guys back. I remember, I was with Bill and we were Landis and we were leaving everybody thought Cardale was going to go pro, man. Like, and then when he decided to return,
right. They think he's coming back.
Like, like he was so, but the one thing that I know for sure, and I'm not a coach, and I, obviously probably would have problems managing people. My thought process is if I were a coach, I would do my best to identify the starter as early as possible and not get to a place like Ohio State did in 2015 where you're telling the starting quarterback in the tunnel. I think it's important for reps. I think it's important for chemistry. I think it's less distractions where every single time you're in front of a camera, the entire media corps is asking you about the quarterbacks. And like, I think coaches allow it to go on too long. And I do think it's kind of crazy, but how hard should it be? Like how often are two people who are different ages exactly the same? Like, why is it so hard for so many people to make the decision?
Well, it's interesting because like the question, brings up factions, and there are situations when there are factions in the locker room, and a lot of times that's when, well, not a lot of times, if there are factions, it is because you can't tell the difference. Really, there's not a clear cut difference. The one sure way
I don't understand
to make the decision, but the one sure way to make the decision and have the whole locker room behind you is if one guy is clearly better than the other. And I'll give you a couple examples of this. 2018, Clemson. Kelly Bryant led Clemson to a number 1 seed in the college football playoff. They lost to Alabama in the semifinals, but had a really good first season as a starter replacing Deshaun Watson.
Mm-hmm.
Trevor Lawrence comes in. It's probably pretty clear from day one that Trevor Lawrence has a much higher ceiling than Kelly Bryant. Like the players probably knew that the moment Trevor Lawrence first threw a ball on Clemson's campus.
And we all knew it too, and we weren't even there. I remember thinking because Trevor Lawrence, remember, was a generational, to use the cliche word.
So Kelly Bryant is a starter at the beginning of that season, and this is the beginning of the 4-game redshirt era. This is the first year of the 4-game redshirt, actually. And you're getting toward game 4, and it's like, okay, what's going to happen? And Dabo makes the decision. He's like, it's not because it's game 4. Of course it was because it was game 4.
Yeah.
Because Kelly Bryant's been a loyal guy, and you want to make sure if he wants to shut it down and redshirt that season and have another year, you can give him that because he's graduated and everything. There was no dissension in the locker room because it was obvious that Trevor Lawrence was the better quarterback. And it could have been a tricky situation if they'd been closer in talent. But like Christian Wilkins was one of the leaders on that team, like takes Trevor Lawrence to breakfast the day that Dabo names him the starter. And is like, hey, this is your team now. You need to step up. But the part of that behind it was, we also have your back. We agree with coach. You are the better guy. Same season before that, Ari. No, was it the season before? Yeah, it was the season before that. Season before that, Alabama is in New Orleans at the Sugar Bowl practicing to play against Clemson. Jalen Hurts gets sick, and Tua takes most of the reps.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, a ball never hits the ground during practice. Like there were some comments from the receivers.
I remember this. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like, oh boy, there's something going on here. And I think that was a tricky one. And I think, Tua gets put into the national championship game, leads them to a win, clearly outplayed Jalen in that game. But I think as time has gone on, you can see why that was not an obvious decision for Nick Saban to have made during that season.
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts has proven pretty thoroughly that he's a really good quarterback,
and we also
really
can't
good leader.
Lose sight of the fact too that Jalen Hurts that year was the consummate professional. as it was all happening too. And I think that he had a lot of people in his corner because of how he handled his business and himself. Like even after he got benched, like he was still like all about the team, all about.
But remember, he got benched in the national title game there. This was before that. This was the team saying, And I think there were questions about, hey, should Tua come back to Alabama if he's not going to be the starter next year? This is before he gets put in the title game.
Yeah.
And it was crazy. That one, I think Nick Saban had to manage pretty well, because I do think there were some factions that he had to deal with.
The thing I just don't understand, and I've already said this, but I want to try to say it the other way. Like, let's use Florida for an example. Mm-hmm. Like, how is it possible that Tramel Jones and Aaron Philo are so close? They are different types of players. They have different strengths. They're from different places. They're like, how could you just be 50-50 on it? Like, I don't understand.
But maybe they are.
I know, but how is it so often? Every time there's a quarterback battle, we don't know.
I will say with the Florida thing, I think it is a credit to Tramel Jones, because I don't think that was the plan. You hire Buster Faulkner, who is one of the most coveted offensive coordinators in the country. The guy who's been playing quarterback for Buster Faulkner for the last 2 years, backing up Haynes King, Aaron Philo, follows him. That sounds like the plan was Aaron Philo would be the guy.
Mm-hmm.
And this goes back to last year when Tramel Jones had to take all the reps for DJ Lagway when he was hurt. Tramel Jones is one of those people that people gravitate toward, that teammates love. And he also might be one of those people who kind of meets the moment when he gets a chance. And so I think that's what's going on here. I think the coaching staff was like, wait a second, we might have stumbled into something here. Mm-hmm. And now you've got to figure out what to do. And I think that the thing they have going for them is they've got 2 games. FAU's a little bit tougher, but then they have Campbell before they go play at Auburn. I would get a good look at both these guys.
Yeah.
Before I make any decision.
Yeah. But I do think that the answer to the question in short is yes. I think it impacts the team.
It does. And it's why you can't get it wrong. Like, I think the wrongest wrong, I don't know if wrongest is a word. The most wrong you can be in this situation as a coach is if you have a clear and obvious, much better player and you go with the one who isn't, for whatever reason, loyalty, age, whatever that is. I think that's when you, like, if Dabo Swinney had stuck with Kelly Bryant instead of starting Trevor Lawrence, that would have been the mistake.
Yeah.
But he didn't make that mistake. So, yeah, that's a great question. And very timely, given that we're looking at this, like the Alabama one. We didn't mention that one as we were answering the question, but Keelan Russell versus Austin Mack. You have the younger guy, the older guy, the guy who's the better runner, the guy who's a better thrower. Like it's you got to figure it out if you're Kalen DeBoer, and that's what you get paid the big bucks for. So